In the news tonight, His Majesty the King checks on the General Directorate of Gendarmerie and commends its efforts in preserving the country's security and stability. The Prime Minister says the government provides competitive climate for investment in the energy sector. And the major powers are to consider arms embargo exemptions for Libya's new government. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. His Majesty the King, the Supreme Commander of the Jordan Armed Forces Arab Army, visited the General Directorate of Gendarmerie and discussed with its Director, Major General Hussein Al-Hawatmeh, a number of issues of concern to the Directorate. The King was briefed on the agency's future plans and training programs that aim to reach a high level of professionalism and readiness. Al-Hawatmeh said that the Gendarmerie forces are working continuously to implement the directives of His Majesty by taking the necessary measures to safeguard the security and safety of citizens in cooperation and coordination with other security agencies to ensure the enforcement of the law and the preservation of human rights. The King voiced his appreciation and pride in members of the Gendarmerie. He also commended their efficiency and efforts to preserve the security and stability of the country. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour said the government's policies focus on planning, supervision and regulation in order to boost the energy sector capacity and increase the volume of investments. These policies, he said, have culminated in attracting several successful Arab and foreign investments in the sector. The Premier was speaking during the second Jordan International Energy Summit that he attended on behalf of His Majesty the King. Mansour pointed to projects in the fields of natural gas, oil shale, mining, renewable energy, oil and gas exploration, which resulted in investment totaling $1.6 billion. The Prime Minister also attended the signing of 5 agreements and memorandums of understanding to boost energy cooperation with local officials, institutions, as well as with Algeria, Egypt and Palestine. The summit brings together around 400 experts representing 41 Arab and foreign countries and a number of energy ministers. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Nasser Judeh took part in a special international conference on Libya, co-chaired by the United States and Italy. Judeh renewed Jordan's support to the Libyan Presidential Council and institutions formed under the UN-brokered Libyan political agreement in Skhirat, Morocco. The minister said these legitimate institutions are Libya's only hope to restore security and stability, maintain its territorial integrity and political independence, and defeat terrorist organizations, namely Daesh. The minister emphasized the meeting should come up with a stance that puts an end to armed militias which pose an existential threat to the Libyan state. Judeh said tight controls should be laid out so armed militias can not penetrate Libya's army, police and presidential guards. The minister added terrorism represented by Daesh remains the most pressing threat, not only in the Libyan state, but to the whole region. On the sidelines of the meeting, Judeh met U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry for talks on Libya and Syria. The two diplomats also spoke about the resumption of Palestinian-Israeli peace talks and the French initiative on crucial issues to the Middle East and the world. Major powers, including the United States, are ready to consider demands from Libya's new unity government for exemptions from a United Nations arms embargo to establish its authority over the country. The West is counting on the UN-backed unity government to tackle Daesh militants in Libya and prevent new flows of migrants heading north across the Mediterranean. International powers have repeatedly said they would support Libyan efforts once a unity government was in place and had made its demands clear.
The international community will support the Presidency Council as it seeks exemption from the UN arms embargo to acquire those weapons and bullets needed to fight Daesh and other terrorist groups. The arms embargo does allow for the government of national accord to request weapons if it needs them specifically to secure the country and to combat Daesh.
So stabilization is the key. With stabilization, we can fight terrorism, we can assure development to a country with rich potentialities, but with a strong humanitarian crisis now. We can tackle the migration issue. We can develop the resources of Libya.
Syrian rebels clashed with Daesh in the Aleppo countryside. Fighters armed with heavy machine guns and light artillery fired on positions for Daesh in Tel Hussein, north of Aleppo. Turkish state news agency reported that Turkish artillery and American warplanes killed a reported 27 Daesh fighters in the rural north of the Aleppo province. A total of 303 new Syrian refugees from various age groups crossed into the kingdom during the last 24 hours. A military source said border guards provided the refugees with the necessary aid before transferring them to refugee camps. The Jordan Royal Medical Services personnel also administered first aid to refugee patients through their medical centers at the borders. The United States and its allies conducted 14 strikes against Daesh in Iraq and Syria. The Combined Joint Task Force said 6 strikes near 4 cities in Syria struck 3 tactical units and a financial headquarters and destroyed a vehicle, a rocket rail and 4 fighting positions. In Iraq, 8 strikes near 5 cities denied access to terrain, suppressed a mortar position and destroyed a bunker, an artillery piece and 2 vehicles, among other targets. Yemeni peace talks hosted by Kuwait ended without end to the stalemate. Official sources said UN envoy Ismail Wald Sheikh Ahmed decided at the end of the meeting to arrange a new meeting for just 4 people. He will meet with representatives of the legitimate government, the Houthis and forces loyal to ousted President Ali Abdullah Saleh. The sources said the government delegation stressed the importance of committing to the UN Security Council resolutions and agreed upon referees. It also reiterated that any discussion conducted away from these referees is rejected. Israeli occupation forces arrested 15 Palestinians in various West Bank cities. The Palestinian Prisoner Club said the Israeli forces stormed the cities of Hebron, Qalqilia, Jenin, Ramallah, and a number of neighborhoods in occupied Jerusalem and arrested these citizens. Meantime, Israeli occupation forces dismantled 7 homes provided by the European Union in the Jabal al-Baba, east of Al-Azariya town in occupied Jerusalem. The representative of Jabal al-Baba said Israeli forces said a group of settlers stormed the area and started dismantling the houses. Turkish counter-terrorism police arrested 7 people with links to Daesh in an operation in Harput city in Turkey's Kurdish southeast. The Turkish intelligence services said among the detained is a Daesh leader who was involved in beheadings and executions. They added that all of the suspects had arrived about a month ago from Syria, where they were on secret missions for Daesh. They were arrested in a major sweep in 6 locals of Harput city. Barcelona paraded the Spanish League trophy through the streets of the city and were greeted by more than 100,000 flag-waving supporters. There were celebrations of the streets after Barcelona's 3-0 win over Granada made sure they won the title. After the players flew back from Granada, they celebrated at a private party, but 24 hours later, the fans and their stars came together for one big street party. The winning is their 24th Spanish title, and the players still have another game to play next week's Kings Cup final against Sevilla that will give the chance to the domestic double. And Di Maria said he had to cope with the added pressure to claim his first clay court win over Novak Djokovic, and with it, the Italian Open title in Rome. The Briton, who turned 29 yesterday, beat the world number one 3-6, 6-3. It was Maria's second Masters title on clay and his first win over 11th-time Grand Slam champion Djokovic on the surface in 5 attempts. No British man had won the Italian title since 1931, and the triumph gives the world number 3 Maria a major boost before the second of the season's Grand Slams, the French Open, starts next week. Now, with this scorching heat we have endured over the last 2 days, let's take a look at the forecast and see if a reprieve is in sight. Hot tonight in most regions, while it will be very hot in the Jordan Valley and the Dead Sea, with the low of 30 degrees and northwesterly moderate winds. Temperatures are expected to drop tomorrow, but relatively hot conditions will continue in most areas of the country. Winds will be northwesterly moderate to brisk, blowing dust mainly in the Badia region. Temperatures in Amman will range between a high of 33 degrees and a low of 25. The Gulf of Aqaba should also expect very hot and dry conditions tomorrow, with northerly moderate winds, brisk and somewhat choppy seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. And to close our top stories, once again, His Majesty the King checks on the General Directorate of Gendarmerie and commends its efforts in preserving the country's security and stability. The Prime Minister says the government provides competitive climate for investment in the energy sector. And the major powers are to consider arms embargo exemptions for Libya's new government. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Lou Balka. Thank you for watching and have a good night.